welcome to Truth and Transparency. Good afternoon, welcome to the Transparency. Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Not sure if this is working,
but today is not a day to celebrate. With the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi.
Take care, Miss Vargas. See you soon, Miss Vargas.
Paparazzi, stop.
What is up to the Transparency? How are we feeling tonight? Let's see how good this is going to work. See if I've mastered my craft. Can you guys hear me okay? What is up? What is up? Is there two of you, Lana? There's going to be two. Lana's so special. Making sure you're able to hear. You guys, there's so much going on. I'm over here. I'm well aware of Kaylee's sister being abandoned, but I can tell you that there's way more to the story than that. Kaylee's other sister, Olivia, actually took her kids and left Idaho and went to California, and just up and took the kids. And went and created another life for herself with the kids. So there's a lot of things going on in people's lives, personal lives, surrounding the Idaho 4 case. I mean, I could sit here and tell you a bunch of things, but I do know that Kaylee's half-sister, Steve's daughter, that is not from that marriage, took to social media. So recently, but I even think something that you want to talk about could possibly potentially have anything to do with the case would be that Olivia was living in Idaho. Her two oldest kids, minus the one that she just had given birth to, they have a dad and a family that, Olivia was like, close with, like living kind of with. And I don't know if the father had any type of substance abuse issues or whatever, but they were living, his parents in Hayden, and they were always over there. And then the next thing you know, Olivia's out of that house, not around that family who was very, very much involved in helping take care of the kids and them. And next thing you know, Olivia is off in Cali. So, but like I said, I know a lot. I don't share all. Some things I deem, not relevant. Other things could be relevant to just put the perspective of like, how a person, what their character is, what they do. Anyways, this episode here has to do with Idaho. Okay. But it has to do with Brian Drake, Jennifer Drake, Dr. Daniel Moore. But what this episode has to do with, it has to do with this guy right here. Marty Ryan, Assistant Police Chief Marty Ryan. Now, why I think that you should watch this if you were watching the Idaho 4 case, or just any case, why I think you should watch this, is because if you want to know about the police and how they operate ISP and how they operate with local law enforcement, this case gives it to you. At 6:42 p.m., so this is what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to go like this. Boom. Look at that. Right here. At 6:42 p.m., Jen calls Brian. This is in the phone records. Not that long of a conversation. Brenner is one of their kids. Brenner had his license, got a car, and Brenner to Jen at 6:56 p.m. Okay. And this had to do with, are the kids going to be coming home? Are they at the croc? What are they doing? And he refers to them as the kids. And, it's a text message, but then there actually is a call. 66. Now, this is the infamous, allegedly 9 minute and 15 conversation, 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Brian to Jen, after he allegedly, all of his patients left, and he was looking out the window, she said, and, saw his last patients drive off. Interesting enough, but 7:17 starts the 9 minute and 15 second conversation. Okay. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Jen says that, oh my God, he says, ouch, I think something hit me. Oh my God, I think I got shot, They get off the phone 9 minutes and 15 seconds. So if you take 9 minutes and you add that on to 17, you're at 7:26. Okay. Now, Jen tries to call Brian's phone that goes directly straight to voicemail at 7:32. From 7:26, 7:32. Okay, goes straight to voicemail. Then Jen attempts to call her mom. And then she calls her dad. And this one goes through. And there was like a 2.5 to 3 minute conversation at 7:36. Then Jen calls a person named Steve Minert. Steve Minert, 25-year-old. 25-year-old. Now, this is the weird thing. Okay. Steve is supposed to be with Hudson, their other kid. Okay. And doing a Lostology sermon. Steve Minert, 25 at the time, is having their kid. This is the second oldest one. So you have Brenner. Brenner was supposed to be videotaping it. Okay. But Brenner texts and says, where's the kids? Are they all at the croc? Which is weird. Then Steve had him at a Lostology. Okay. And so Jen calls. He doesn't answer, goes straight to voicemail. She texts immediately after and says, call me. Or he texts actually her and says, can I call you later? And she says back to him in a text, no, call me now. So they talk for about 2 minutes at 7:42. Okay. Now this is the infamous 7:44 p.m. call. And it comes from this number, 208. Mind you, no 911 calls have been made yet. No 911 calls. All right. This number, 208-267-9416. This number is called, meaning calling Jen at 7:44 p.m. Marty Ryan to Jen. Now, Lana, how do you know that it was Marty Ryan? Well, because Jen in one of her interviews says that I didn't call the police. You guys called me. You guys called me. And she's like, yeah, like Marty. And she slips it. She says the name Marty, okay, during her interview. So, Marty. Now, let's talk about this. How in the world and why in the world would Marty, the assistant police chief, be calling Jen's cell phone number? How would he know her cell phone number? How would he know his cell phone number? Or how would he know her? Like, how does Marty Ryan know Jen's cell phone number? Now, I then took, because let's see what's going on in the case. So here we have, this is the log. Hold on one second. Oh boy. Okay. And then when I take a look at this log, and it says 1940, which is 740, 741, 47, 47, 51, 53, 54, 54, 54, 56. Gets to 8 o'clock, then 8:09, 8:09. Then it goes to 8:04, 8:04, 8:04, 8:04, 8:06, 8:07. Why in the world are all of these out of order? Then it goes to 8:18, then 8:19, 8:14, 8:14, 8:14, 8:14, 8:14, 8:14, 8:16, 8:19, 8:23, 8:30, 8:38, 8:38, 8:39, 40. Why would these ever be out of order? This is your CAD. This is your master CAD. Okay. So here, 740, 741, and then there's a gap between 741 and 747. And inside this gap of 741 and 747, there's a phone call at 744 that takes place. Now, according to Jen, she will say in her interview that, oh, God, it was so weird. Like, I don't know, like you guys called me and you guys said that the medics were working on him. And then like you wanted to like know where his cell phones were. And could we like call his cell phones? And it was just like really weird. She's talking about his cell phones. Okay. And I'm over here like, what the hell is this broad talking about? What was before I deep dived the case? Before I did anything. But once I deep dived the case, I realized that Jen had to make up for some of her claims. And because the interviews that are only out there are not they're ISP interviews, but she had actually interviewed with Bonner's the day after the murder, like 313. And those have never been heard of. So I said to myself, well, that's strange. Jen didn't even call 911 yet. Why is Jen getting a phone call Like, how do you even know a cell phone number to call? So I said, I want to call somebody. So I want to call, so this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call this number. Let's see. All right. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to give this number a call right here. 1-208-267-9416.
You have reached the Boundary County Sheriff's Office. If this is an emergency, dial 0 now. Please listen carefully as our menu has changed. For dispatch, dial 0. For the jail, dial 207. For driver's license, dial 204. For civil processing or records, dial 203.
Let's call one more time. I want you guys to listen to it.
You have reached the Boundary County Sheriff's Office. If this is an emergency, dial 0 now. Please listen carefully as our menu has changed.
This is the Boundary County Sheriff's number. The Boundary County Sheriff's number. This is not Bonners Ferry. This is the Boundary County Sheriff. The Boundary County Sheriff. Okay, so let me explain this. Bonners Ferry is a city, okay? And it is in Boundary County, okay? Boundary County is the county, Boundary County. Bonners Ferry is the city, okay? So, like Sandpoint, it's in Boundary County, okay? Now, this is not the number that Jennifer Drake calls. This is a number that calls Jennifer Drake. Okay? This is really important. Note to self, find a new office space while I'm learning IGG. Okay, really important. This number, she does not call this number. This number calls her. So with that said, is everybody following along here? Again, if you just got off the phone with your husband at 7:26 and he says that he is shot, okay? So 7:26, you don't call 911, you don't do anything. In fact, you try to call his phone at 7:32, go straight to voicemail. 7:35, you try to call your mom. 7:36, you try to call your dad and it goes through. You talk to your dad for 2 minutes. Then you call, then you talk to your son. Then you talk to Steve Minard at 7:41 through texting. Then you're actually on the phone with him at 7:42. Then at 7:42, because the phone call is about 2 minutes with Steve Minard, the 25-year-old that was allegedly the Lostology kid that's with the one son, Hudson, and Brenner was supposed to be there recording it, the eldest son. And so here at 7:44, you answer a phone call that comes in from Boundary County Sheriff's Office. Why would Boundary County Sheriff's Office be calling Jennifer Drake? Now, Jennifer Drake was interviewed, and Jennifer Drake said numerous times in this interview, hey, I didn't call 911. You guys called me. I didn't call 911. I didn't call 911. I didn't call 911. So why is Jennifer, she knows that she didn't call 911. She's telling the police that she didn't call 911. They're like, huh? What? What are you talking about? She's like, no, yeah, you guys called me. You guys called me. And she's like, she says the name Marty. She also says the name Ken. And Ken is with Kootenai County Sheriff's Department. It's different. So I have a question for all of you guys. How in the world and why in the world would anybody call Jennifer Drake? Now, she hasn't even called 911 yet, because then it will come up that, oh yeah, I really did call 911, and here's a 911 call. Wait, but you told them that you didn't call 911, and now there's this miraculous 911 call. Think about how crazy this is. In your interview, you're telling the police that you did not call 911. You made I did not call 911 from this phone. I didn't call 911. How does that happen? Now, okay. Now, Jen said that she was at home sitting on her couch when she got the news. Okay? That she was at home sitting on her couch when she got the news. Okay? This is Amber. We'll get to Amber here. Amber Van Lang is the church admin lady, friend of Jennifer's. Hold on. Let's get in here. Now, I was prepared for this. Lana, did you no, get you hat yet? Excuse me. Okay. Hold on, there we go. Cam. Back cam. Okay. There you go. Amber. Okay, Jennifer calls Amber at right when she gets off the phone with, allegedly she thought it was Marty Ryan, but the 744 car is actually from Boundary County Sheriff. Now it's 7:47 and 55 seconds. Jen called Amber. Okay. She doesn't answer. Brenner then calls Jen. So her eldest son calls her. Now, Amber at 8:07 calls Jen back. This is the first time that they talk at 8:07. Okay. And this is the first time that we have the emerging lies from her churchgoers. They performed 200 interviews, they said. 200 interviews in this case. Amber was not one of them. Right here. Husband to Amber. They interviewed him. Now, let's see if this makes a little bit more sense. We have a new timeline on it. Okay. Right here. These are the pastor, the Owens. They run the church. Okay? They were together on this night at, right here, the female, at 9:06 p.m. She sends a text message at 9:06 p.m. to Jennifer that says, lifting you up in prayer. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. Now, does that sound like somebody that's already talked and hung out with this person? No, that sounds like somebody that just found out. Okay. So, John, before we get on over to Spencer, because that's Spencer there. John was interviewed. He is a pastor, so he actually had a lawyer with him because he has privilege. Okay. So John here, he was on Family Feud as well, the Owens family. Here we go. This is where stuff doesn't make any sense. John said John was driving him and his wife heading up that way, meaning towards Bonners. And we headed that way, and I didn't know he was dead. You know, we met with his wife that night. The police don't ask what time. John said he called the local city police officer to find out what happened, to find what hospital, what time and who did he call. They don't ask any of that. He just says, yeah, I called the local police officer to find out what happened, to find what hospital he was at. Owen's wife texts to Jen, lifting you up in prayer, my friend, let us know what we can do at 9:06 p.m. John said he was driving him and his wife. They were heading up that way, up north towards Bonners. We headed that way. I didn't know he was dead. We got a call saying he was dead. The cop said, who called you? Well, Amber and Jen were ahead of us. Jen notified his wife. Amber was driving Jen But according to the husband of Amber, Jen was driving. Total clash. Also, I looked at the phone records. Jen notified his wife. That never happened. Jen never called her. The first text that came in was the 906 text. So to Jen from his wife. But Jen didn't notify. The police asked, who notified you that the shooting had happened? My wife was called by Jen because Amber was driving to tell us he was dead. That did not happen. Were you home when you got the call? Don't you think they would ask that? No. They did ask, has anyone ever been murdered from your church before? Weird response was, he's like, I don't know. Oh my God, I think he would know if someone got murdered. Now, how can we have all these mistakes? Again, let's go like this. I want everyone to follow along here because it's really important. The pastor is interviewed. And he says that we went to, we actually went to Amber's house, and then we actually went to Jen's house. But before all of that, what had happened is he said, John said he called a local police officer to find out what happened, to find out what hospital. At 9:06 was that text message. So I'm guessing that it had to be, you didn't find out from, Jen, because Jen's phone records are out there and that call just never happened, nor did a text message. Okay. Nor did any calls from Jen's phone during that time go to this person. But when John was asked this question, why would you lie about this? John was asked, who notified you that the shooting had happened? Who notified you? And I think the reason they were asking that because it was so early. Who notified you that the shooting had happened? My wife was called by Jen because Amber was driving to tell us he was dead. That is exactly how he says it to the police. And I said to myself, well, that's a story. He's giving an excuse why Jen had to call. Well, Jen called because Amber was driving. Well, that's funny because Amber's husband says that Jen was driving and that Jen took her SUV up there. And then what time did all of this happen? Nobody wants to talk about any times, any timestamps. Well, then we get to, mind you, Amber has never been interviewed. The person that was with Jen, never been interviewed. But there's been over 200 interviews in this case. Over 200 interviews. Totally crazy. Right? Fucking crazy shit. So here we go. This guy was interviewed. Spencer. And Spencer gets caught up in some lies. Some really big lies. And the first lie was, well, what time did Jen call? He was asked, what time did Jen call Amber? He said, like 7:30. And he messes up when he's like, yeah, the kids were in bed and I just told her to go with Jen and I'll stay back because the kids were in bed. And then the officer said, what time? Like, who puts their kids to bed at 7:30? And I was like, why is Jen, like, why the lie about what time this all happened? For the record, Jen and Amber didn't talk until 8:07. So that's a big, big difference. So let me go back to this. Put this up here. Okay, so again, this guy interviewed. This woman, not. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't being cooperative with law enforcement, but who knows why Amber has ever been interviewed. This is Jen's alibi, if you really want to be creative with it. So he lies and says that this happened at 7:30. Well, it doesn't happen until 8:07. Okay. Now, according to him, Jen is driving. Now, how in the world could you mess this up? Why would Pastor think that Amber drove? And then here, the husband of the wife, so think about this. If Amber calls her back and they talk at 8:07, she has to then drive to her house because allegedly this is the line. Amber is her alibi. Amber is her alibi to say yeah, then me and Jen drove up to Bonner's Ferry. Do you understand that this has never been corroborated by anybody, by law enforcement? There's been no interview that anybody has said that they were with Jen during the time of the murder. Does anybody understand that? So now, going back over here to these lovely phone records. These phone records that are just so important. Okay. Whoopsies. Oh, where's this other stuff? Here we go. Okay. Now, when Jen called 911, she said that people were trying to call him and nobody can get through. That doesn't happen until 8:46, 8:45. She calls him once, and then she calls his cell phone at 8:45, 8:46. And then she starts making her hospital phone calls and her 911 phone call at 8:59. But check this out. At 4:36 p.m. that night on 3/12, Jen texts her son and says, "Please tape Hudson for me at Lostology." Okay. Well, I thought this was some big production. It was some dude doing stuff in his bedroom during COVID. Then she texts again and she says, Marco, video, audio, anything. Make sure you record it. So she's not at it because she's asking him to record it. Then she sends another text at 4:38. "Hello, Sarah. Asher is going to the Croc for open gym indoor soccer tonight from 7 to 9 and wanted to know if Bridger can join him." Then 4:38 p.m. outgoing. "He is welcome to spend the night tonight afterwards." Then Brenner texts his mom back and says, "K," at 5 o'clock. Okay, I'll do what you're saying, video recording it. Then Jennifer Drake receives a text message at 5:22 p.m. that says to this person, Sarah, who's the mom of Bridger. That sounds fun, but is there any way we could trade tonight for tomorrow night? I have to drive 2 hours north tomorrow. Bridger isn't looking forward to spending 4 hours in the car. Anyway, I can drop him off around 10 and pick him up around 3 or 4 instead. Then she says, absolutely, although he will miss soccer as it's Thursday nights. It is nice weather. They can kick the ball around outside behind us. Asher will be glad to have him. Then at 5:31, thank you so much. Oh, totally. We might be able to get him there for soccer. We'll have to see if we can swing it. Then outgoing is just like hearts. Then Angela. Jennifer Drake texts this girl, Angela, at 5:33 p.m. This is going to be an hour and a half before the murders. Oh, bless you. I'm sorry, Angela texts Jennifer, oh, bless you. Then Sarah responds to Jennifer and says, my husband is a total germaphobe, and with Bridger's asthma and him having pneumonia just a couple years ago, they're all worried about COVID. It's starting, so they're not going to do anything. And then Jennifer at 5:39 says, I totally understand. Please do what gives you peace. Sarah says, thank you. Now, this is a text message between at 5:45 p.m. This is between Brian Drake and Jennifer. Okay. At 5:45 p.m., Jennifer texts Brian Drake and says, pray for Hudson. He is speaking at Lostology right now and is very stressed out. Then she sends another text at 5:45 and 55 seconds because she corrected the spelling. He is speaking at Lostology. Well, I looked up Lostology, and that is run by Stephen Minert, and it was in his bedroom. And it was during COVID, so it was just totally, I don't know why he would be totally stressed out. I mean, it's just Facebook Live. Now, at 5, by the way, Brian Drake never responds. At 5:47, Sarah, the mother of Bridger, says, is Asher going to play soccer tonight, whether Bridger goes or not? Then at 5:51, she says yes. Then Sarah says, okay, good. I didn't want to leave you hanging. Then she says, no worries at 5:55. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So everybody can understand the timeline here. 3/12/2020 is the shooting. 6:42. We're about to approach that as it's right now. I'm going to read off something that happened at 6:26 p.m. It's a text message. At 6:26 p.m., Jennifer Drake texts her friend Beth and says, hello, Beth. I just saw your macro. What a bummer about the concert. Aubrey was really excited about it, but no worries. I understand. I told her that she could stay the night if you allowed it. By the way, is there anything special on Hannah's birthday list? Then at 6:34 p.m., Beth responds, I know, I'm so bummed they canceled. And they canceled the whole entire tour, every city. We would love to still have her. We are still going to have so much fun. Hannah's favorite color is teal, anything crafty, but she's just excited for her to come. So this is really important because this is where Jennifer Drake says that her daughter is next to her. No, her daughter is nowhere near her. Okay. Now, at 6:52 p.m., this would be at 6:42 p.m., Jen calls Brian, and it was just 9 seconds because he said he was with Eldora Gatchel. They hang up. Then 6:56 p.m., Brenner calls or texts his mom and calls. The text message says at 6:52, are the kids at the Croc? Meaning he arrives home. This is how I took it. He arrives home and there's no one there or something. Because then he says, again, also, I recorded the entire thing. Speaking about the Lostology thing. Then an outgoing text from Jennifer Drake at 6:52 and 39 seconds says to Beth, Awesome. Crafty is perfect. They're doing crafts that night. Then Brenner Drake at 7:02 receives a text message from his mom at 7:02. It says, take a picture of Hudson and Steven together at 7:02. Take a picture of Hudson and Steven together. Steven Minert. Okay? Take a picture of those two together. Now, what she's doing here is she's trying to make it seem like her son Brenner is with her other son and Steve Minert. Do you guys understand this? Okay. By these text messages, she's saying, hey, yep, you recorded something. Okay. Great. I got that on record. And now she's saying, oh, make sure you take a picture. And then there was another text at 7:03 and 2 seconds. It says, like you did of you and Steven. Okay, at 7:03. Then it would be the 7:17 call that would come in. Okay. And then the next text message at 7:41 p.m. after she'd already called him, she called Steven Minert because she does the 7:30, after 7:17, 9 minutes, 7:32, she tries to call back, goes straight to voicemail. Then she calls her mom, no one answers. Then she calls her dad. At 7:36, she talks to her dad. Then she calls Steve Minert. He doesn't answer, but he immediately texts her and says, can I call you back later? And she says, no. At 7:41 and 28 seconds, no, call me now. Then they talk on the phone for 3 minutes. Mind you, she hasn't called Amber yet. She hasn't called the police yet. She hasn't done anything yet. The only reason that they talk for at 7:42 for the 2 minutes and some odd seconds is because there's an incoming call coming in, and it's none other than the Boundary County Sheriff is calling. So she takes that call. So let me explain something here. Now, unless when she was on the phone with Steven Minert, if she then decided to three-way call the police with Steven on the phone, I'm just trying to think of a way that there would be no 911 call because there's no call. And I said, no. She says there's no call. She says that she never calls 911, but then she ends up having this 911 call, right? So I keep going. And at 7:49, there's a text message. It's an incoming text message. 7:49 would be after she called Amber at 7:47 and nobody answered. Brenner calls his mom, Brenner, to Jen at 7:48, 33 seconds. And they talk for 25 seconds. Then Brenner texts his mom and says, what's wrong? And then Brenner texts his mom again at 7:49 and 38 seconds. Mom. Then Brenner texts again at 7:50 and 46 seconds. Mom. Then Brenner texts his mom again at 7:50 and 54 seconds. So this is like he's just shotgunning these text messages and says, Maddie, ? And I come to find out that Maddie is the dog. Their dog's name is Maddie. So he's like, is it Maddie? Is it Maddie? Then at 7:54, Jen texts Amber at 7:54. Amber, you there? Can you call me ASAP? She still has not called the police. Then her mom texts her and says, Sandpoint or Bonner's Ferry? ? Then at 7:58, 8:55 and 37 seconds, Jen texts her mom and says, Bonner's Ferry. Then her mom texts at 7:56. Rachel is on the phone. Then at 9:06, so from the last outgoing text from Jen was at 7:55, and this is important. 7:55, her last text until because at 7:55, that's her last text that she sent where she says Bonner's Ferry. At 9:06, she would receive a text message that said, lifting you up in prayer, my friend. Let me know what we can do. Now, right before that 9:06 happened, here's what happened from 8:21 to 8:59 p.m. Jen 21, 11 seconds. At 8:32 and 59 seconds, Jen's calling Steve Minert. Then she tries to call at 8:45 and 54 seconds. She tries to call Brian Drake's phone. Then the next minute, she tries to call his cell phone, and they're going straight to voicemail at 8:45 and 8:46. Then at 8:48, 8:51, 8:56, 8:57, 8:58, and 8:59, these are all the calls that are made to hospitals. And then finally at 8:59, that's the call that's made to Kootenai County 911. How do I know that? Because I googled the number. That's how I know that. And when I googled the number, I also went ahead and looked at the cab notes. And would you believe it? Would you believe it? At 8:59, an active 911 was sent. Now, ready, check this out. At 9:14, Sherry Sprague, one of her good friends, texts and says, there is no pit too deep, that he is not deeper, just citing God. You are my little sister. Give me an update as soon as you know. Then Steve Minert, an outgoing text at 9:34 p.m. She doesn't return any of these other people, like her Sherry, the pastor's wife. Steve Minert, she texts Steve Minert, the 25-year-old, and says, walk away from the house and call me. At 9:34 and 14 seconds, walk away from the house and call me. And then they start a phone conversation that lasts 2 minutes. On that phone conversation, because it goes from 9:34 to like 9:37, and then there's all these text messages that are from Brenner, because Steve allegedly is walking away from the house, and Brenner is supposed to be there at the house, right? Brenner says, update, ? At 9:34 and 23 seconds. 9:36 and 22 seconds. She then texts him and says, not sure. I'm on the phone with the police. Jennifer Drake at 9:36 and 22 seconds sends a text message that tells her son at 9:36 and 22 seconds that she is on the phone with the police. Jennifer Drake is not on the phone with the police at 9:36 and 22 seconds. Jennifer Drake is on the phone with Stephen Minard, the 25-year-old felon. Then she says, then Brenner Drake texts back immediately. Like, this is all happening within like 10-second texting, like, back and forth, and says, "Why are you driving back?" ? Why are you driving back? Why are you driving back? Driving back from Bonner's. Because remember, Amber and her went there. And then on the way there, they found out that he was dead. So they came back. But check this out. He says, "Why are you driving back?" to her. Then she writes, "Go ahead and cancel our work tomorrow just in case you need to come up to be with him," at 9:37. And then Brenner Drake says the most amazing words to me when I was reading this. He says, "Already did." And that was Dwayne Fish. And so I was like, I want to talk to Dwayne Fish. Dwayne Fish said that he got a phone call at 6:50 p.m. saying that from Brenner at 6:50. Look at this first call at 6:42. Then Brenner to Jen was at 6:56. But that Fish dude said he got a phone call at 6:50 and said that Brenner had called and said his dad was shot in the leg at 6:50. Now that's what you call exculpatory as motherfucking fuck. Then, so Jen's over here. "Go ahead and cancel our work tomorrow just in case you need to come up here." Jen already canceled work earlier when she said that she called and told them that they were all going to some G3 con. He says, "Already did." Then Brenner Drake says, "Dwayne offered to head over to the house." Like, hello, no one's there. Dwayne offered to head over to the house. That was at 9:37. "Okay, go to bed and we'll let you know first thing in the morning." He says, "Okay." And then he writes at 9:38 and says, "You think I can go to bed?" Then he says at 9:38 and 27 seconds, "But he's okay, right?" And then at 9:39 and 14 seconds, Jennifer Drake says, "Go to bed. I may not know for a while." She doesn't answer any of his questions. He says, "Why are you driving back?" Dwayne offered to head over to the house. Doesn't say anything back. "You think I can go to bed? But he's okay, right?" "Go to bed. I may not know for a while." Meanwhile, she had just texted then Sherry and says, "He is dead," at 9:39 and 22 seconds. He is dead. That's it. And then Brenner writes back at 9:39 and 38 seconds and says, "Okay," after she says, "Go to bed. I may not know for a while." He says, "Okay." Then at 9:50 and 44 seconds, Brian Drake's sister, "Jen, Dad called me and I have been on our face crying and praying for you and the kids. Dad said you probably can't or don't want to talk. I'm trying to respect that, but know that I love you so much and I'm bringing you before the Lord tonight." After she says to Sherry, "He is dead," Sherry at 9:54 and 28 seconds says, "I know. What can I do? Can I call you?" So Sherry found out that he was dead, not from Jen. You guys get where I'm going with all this stuff? Sherry's one of her friends. It's like one of the group of friends. So you have Sherry and Josh, you have Spencer and Amber, and then you have Angela and Hunter. Those are like those three. And then you have Dan and Emily. How the fuck does Sherry know? Sherry, baby. Then at so Sherry says, I know. What can I do? Can I call you? Then at 9:58 and 35 seconds, she says, I'm here. I love you. What can I do? Jen doesn't respond until, nope, she still doesn't respond. Then at 10:54 and 8 seconds, Jen, I'm so sorry I'm not there with you now. I'm so thankful that Amber was able to be there. I'm not sure where you are now. My heart is overwhelmed, literally. I am here tonight if you need me. My phone is next to me. If I don't hear from you, I will find you in the AM. I love you. Sherry, not interviewed. Amber, not interviewed. Sherry, not interviewed. Beth, not interviewed. Sarah, not interviewed. 200 fucking interviews. Who the fuck did ISP interview? Incoming. Her mom and her sister. Hey, Jen, at 11:19. Hey, Jen, I just want you to know that I am with Mom and Pops and we're leaving now. See you soon. Then our mom says, leaving now at 11:21. Then her one sister says, join my Life 360 circle. If I was a defense attorney, I would say, did you think that your sister was suicidal, that you wanted to put her on your Life 360 app? Then at 11:28 and 11:34, Marty Ryan calls Jen. And then they take the case and give it to ISP. Now, tomorrow, I am going to read the Franks hearing. Everybody wants to talk about Delphi. I'm going to compare the Dan Moore motion for his Franks hearing and compare it to that of why Delphi has 136 pages plus all the exhibits. I'm going to do all that tomorrow, and you're going to see how royally messed up things are in Idaho, number one. But number two, how I believe Dan Moore's attorney totally missed the boat, but how much of it was because of prosecutorial misconduct. You guys can decide. But it's going to blow your minds. And these are the people that are in charge of the Idaho 4 case. Wait till you see what they say about what Idaho can and can't do as far as scanning images. You guys, there's a reason to my madness. So, but in order to understand it all, this is how they operate. We're coming for you. Again, do me a favor, guys, on your way out. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. You have an opinion. These are the facts, nothing but the motherfucking facts. I will be live tomorrow, bringing it to you. I might do a member as only a little bit later in the middle of the night. So, and don't worry, I am totally passing so far. DNA all the way. All right, guys, take care. Shout out to the Moors.